Show number 12.
This
Otaku's
Life.
I can't really place the time or date, but I remember a number of years ago, I was with my father, and we were driving through the area of the city that he used to live in. And he was driving around the neighborhood, and he was looking for one of the houses that he grew up in. And I remember him telling me a story about the layout and where the kitchen was and where his bedroom was, and even the darkroom that he used to develop his photographs. And I thought this was really interesting. This was sort of a bit of an insight, something that my father had never shared with me before. We recently were in another part of the city, and my father was driving around, and he told me a story about when he was a kid, and that the lamps, the lanterns that used to be on the street were ones that someone would come out and would manually turn on. And I mean with an actual flame and oil. No electricity whatsoever. Not saying that they didn't have electricity at the time, I'm just saying that the street lamps weren't electrified. And this recently had me thinking about places that I had once lived, worked, or had visited quite a bit from a relative. I think about my grandfather's house. He had an apartment, and now I'm recalling all those memories of the layout and the furniture and the kitchen and the times that I've spent there. My grandmother died a number of years ago. She actually died about a week after 9/11. Now, she wasn't in the tower buildings. She just happened to have a problem about a week before 9/11, and about 2 weeks later she died. And I was thinking about where she used to live, and the house, and the neighborhood, and her neighbors. And I can remember my aunt's bedroom, where it was like a snapshot back into the 60s, and the spare bedroom that had this crack all the way against the wall, and my grandmother's bedroom, and the living room, and the kitchen, and the basement. And I have fond memories of her place and visiting my grandmother and the neighborhood. But as an adult, I never really visited my grandmother that often. I saw her before she died, and I know there are pictures of it, but this is a place that I can't visit anymore. The house was sold, and I'm not even sure if I could walk through the halls, look at the bathroom, stand in the kitchen, what I would do. There's a house not far from where I live today, and this was a place that I grew up as a teenager. This was a house that my father had before he got remarried. And my father had built an extension onto the house, and he used this extension to create a very large kitchen. And the greatest thing about this house is it was built on the side of a hill, and it overlooks the whole area. And at nighttime you could see all the pretty lights of this area, this city. And I have fond recollections of wintertime and looking at the snowy area through the woods and seeing all the lights and sitting there drinking hot cocoa in the silence. And since it's not far from here, there have been times where I've driven up that road and past that house, and I can see all the improvements that the new owner has made. Of course, out of all the fond memories I have of this house, there are a lot of things I don't miss. The driveway was steep, and during wintertime, it would get very icy, and there was really no guardrail from basically falling into the woods or driving into the woods if you weren't careful when you were coming down the driveway. And so there are little things like that that I don't miss. There are also a number of places I used to work at that have changed. I remember this one big company, and I worked there for over 5 years, and they have gone and moved away out of that campus. And it makes me think a little bit about the places, the locations that I used to have access to that I don't anymore. And even if I did, what would I do? Would I stand around and recall all the changes? I visit my mother once in a while, and the town that I grew up in has changed dramatically. I mean, a lot of business growth, and a lot of changes, and a lot of new developments, and a lot of new shopping centers. And so it's not just a physical place that I don't have access to anymore, the place I can't go back to, but it's also a state of history. How was it before? What was there long ago? And it's not just a state of physical being, it's also a state of mind. Because when I start thinking about those times and those places, I thought about what my ambitions were in life. And it's not just about a place I can't go back to anymore, but a time as well. Thank you, everyone, once again for listening and continuing to download. You guys are awesome. I've said it before. For feedback, you can hit us up at thisotakuslife@gmail.com, or you can check out our website, thisotakuslife.com. We would love to hear from you guys. We would love to read your words, but we also want to hear your voice. So if there's a way that you can contribute, we would ask that you do. Just record some audio, and you can send it to our email address. You could also participate in one of our show IDs that we have at the beginning of every show. We have a scrambled set of voices each and every single time. And we would love to continue to make sure that it's buried and that we don't duplicate too often. And if you would love to contribute your voice, and all that we would ask you to do is say, "This Otaku's Life with pauses in between. And as I said, there's other ways you can contribute. If you're able to record audio, we would love to hear your side of a story, something that we've already covered here, or maybe even a new topic. So please, don't hesitate to send us feedback. It's not something we expect to read on the air, but it is something that we like to see, and we like to have a communication with you. So thank you once again for continuing to listen, to continue to download, and participate with this show. Until next week, everyone, have a good one.